well, I promised I'd do these, so let's see where it goes. But first, a disclaimer. Okay, I'm going to start off every one of these videos with this disclaimer, so just get used to it, and I'm going to do it verbally and display it on the screen. I am not the ultimate nor sole authority on Fallout Equestria. I never have been, and never will be, nor will I ever claim to be. Even its original creator, KCat, doesn't even attempt to claim that title, and she made it. Anything that happens outside the original Fallout Equestria Little Pip, that is to say, the original that KCat wrote, that conflicts with the original that KCat wrote, will be considered the theoretical or non-canonical piece. Yes, even parts of my Dead Tree or other famous stories will be considered supplemental at best, and at worst, outright apocryphal. With that said, I hope this disclaimer is clear, and it will appear at the start of all videos. Now, how do horses hold guns? Seriously, because we see a gun like this. There is no way for something with a hoof to hold that. Now, the cheap answer is unicorns hold guns with telekinesis. To show some examples of artwork from the fandom, here we have these. But that isn't what KCat describes. Let me read you the exact description of a gun from Chapter 1 of Fallout Equestria by KCat. Ordinary guns, small size like pistols, revolvers, rifles, and shotguns, are usually built to fit the mouth of an average pony who uses their tongue to pull the trigger. Now, with this in mind, would that actually work? Honestly, yes. But you came here for the long-winded answer, so I'm going to give it to you. Now, look at how we rein horses. That is to say, we put a bit and bridle in their mouth, and how we pull against it to direct them while you're riding the horse, or while it's pulling a wagon, or while you're guiding it from in front. The bit area of the mouth referred to in a horse's anatomy is the interdental space between the incisors and the flat molars, or in common tongue, the bit. This is where you can place the bridle of the horse and it won't hurt it no matter how hard you pull. And also where you attach the reins to the bridle. A horse requires around 25 to 40 pounds of force to be applied to their head in order to physically move it. That is both the weight of the head being moved and the tension in the muscles of the neck. Usually riders only have to apply 10 to 15 pounds on the reins for a well-trained horse to know to move in a new direction or change its heading, while a horse's neck can sustain up to 50 pounds without moving. This puts a total of 90 pounds of force in order to move a horse's head to one side. So yes, if it doesn't want to move, I don't think the recoil of a gun is going to do it. But rather than think, let's scientifically prove it. I am going to show you some various designs from Fallout Equestria now so you can see what this should look like. Alright. Pistols are where I'm going to start. Fallout Equestria specifically mentions 9mm, 10mm, 45, 357, 338, 44 Magnum, 50 cal pistols. Specifically are mentioned throughout the book. A 9mm pistol requires 4.6 to 5.5 foot-pounds to withstand recoil. I am infinitely annoyed that we don't have a better unit of measurement for gun recoil than foot-pounds. We use foot-pounds everywhere, except for the fact that if I wanted to give you a different answer, it would be in joules, which are the most basic unit of energy that no one actually understands what a joule is. Anyway, the 357 Little Mac that Little Pip favors is 7.8 to 8.4 foot-pounds. 45 ACP is 9 foot-pounds. And a 50 cal Desert Eagle, or as Fallout Equestria will call it, a Desert Griffin, requires 40 pounds to hold it in place. That's how much recoil is being sent into your hand. That's why you can fire a 45 and hold it, but if you fire a 50 cal, it slams you in the face. Now, none of these numbers exceed the force required to move the head of the horse at the upper limit. Further, nowhere are they even close to the 90 pounds it would require to actually jerk their neck. So with this in mind, this is a perfect system of recoil for pistols. Now we're going to look at something larger. Rifles and shotguns. I'm interrupting my own video. So Death Watch is Saturday, June 30th. It's going to be all day. It's on Twitch. The link is in the description below. I'm trying to keep this interruption very short if you can't tell. Fallout Equestria, Wednesday night. Hi. You came here to watch me talk about Fallout Equestria lore. Why don't you come to watch me play the tabletop game? It's at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific, 2 a.m. GMT. 30 minutes before that, we do a little, hangout with everybody who wants to come into the public Discord server, also in the link below. And all these streams take place on Twitch, so see you over there. Lastly, if you're enjoying what you're watching, please type ... for the algorithm in the comments and drop a like. It's on screen right now. If you don't like what you're watching, hit the dislike button. Let me know. This is very important. It lets me know to keep going or to stop. Now, back to what we're doing. Notice how the pump action shotguns have a slot rather than a handle like we would expect. The slot is there to insert a hoof into it to allow pumping. The stock, you will notice, goes out and down to the horse's shoulder on its forechest against what would be considered the frontal chest plate, putting the weapon to aim straight down sights at eye level. Literally, you have to make minimal movements to bring the weapon to eye level or lower it away. This also means that you have to make minimal movements to reach the trigger mechanism, which is pulled by the horse's tongue. We'll get to that. Further, because the stock is properly braced, I'm sorry, you're not moving a nearly 1-ton animal with a shotgun blast just off of the recoil alone. It might not even notice it fired the gun. The stock actually works this way. It's still attached to the gun. It's still actively participating in the mechanism of recoil, and it still transfers the recoil down into the horse's chest. They would have to be thicker and probably made of slightly denser material. So you're not going to see cheap wood. You're going to see stuff like oak or ebony, which are very dense woods, in order to compensate for the recoil. It is designed the same way we would use weapons if we didn't have posable thumbs. And it is the same design we use that is made to point around. And if you have like a gun that points around a corner, you'll see some of these that are like have cameras on them and you hold the gun out, but you also see like this apparatus for heavier firearms to put the recoil into something. It's the same apparatus we would use in order to fire a higher caliber gun around the corner without exposing the shooter. Now, the firing mechanism, or trigger as is commonly described, is pulled by the tongue, as I said above. Your tongue couldn't possibly pull that off. I'm sorry. There's too much. You can't get enough force with your tongue to discharge a gun. Hollywood saying that if people drop guns, they go off is bullshit. Or at least you shouldn't be able to, unless you're Gene Simmons of Kiss and happen to have the tongue. Because you couldn't, one, get your tongue into the trigger guard, and two, you couldn't get your tongue to apply enough force. However, I don't think you can, necessarily, but your tongue is usually used to get food off your teeth or help your wife in bed. Stay classy, boys. Return the favor sometime. And my fellow bi or my wife's lesbian girls, you know what I'm talking about. But on to the real course of the matter. Here is a real horse's tongue in action. Notice the length, how flexible it is, and how much control they have over it. And it's still flexible inside the horse's mouth. This is to assist them in drinking water. But horse tongues are a muscle with up to 20 pounds of force. You can be knocked down by a horse slapping you with its tongue. Most people's grip strength doesn't get up to 20 pounds of force. So if the horse doesn't want you to hold on to its tongue, you're not holding on to its tongue, and it's not even going to have to move its head. By the way, it doesn't require 20 pounds of force to pull the trigger of any known small arms weapon. So yes, the horse's tongue definitely has the dexterity control and strength to manage a trigger in its mouth, particularly if that trigger is designed for its tongue. There are also two variations. One with the horse pulling the trigger and one with the horse punching it. Since KCAP describes it as being pulled, I'm going to say the majority of triggers for ponies are pulled, though I imagine there are many custom ones in pre-war Equestria and the Wasteland that allow the user, a pony in this case, to push the trigger rather than pull it. It should also be noted, creatures with opposable thumbs, such as dragons, griffins, diamond dogs, called sand dogs, and hippogriffs, operate firearms as we humans do. It's just they only have 3 or 4 digits instead of the 5 that we as humans are used to having. They still build their weapons specifically to work with their talons, or, in the case of diamond dogs, their strange hand-like objects. Hopefully, this is a short primer for you to understand the basics of how Fallout Equestria guns work. Up next, the Fallout Equestria I and many other writers write about might not be the one you know. Until then, make sure you type ... for the algorithms and smash the silly button, whichever one you wanted to hit. Good night.